there are 36 candles that you have to light over Chanukah, right? One candle the first night, 2 candles the second. If you add them all up, 36. And when you buy those boxes, of pre-made candles, it comes with 44. Right? Why is that? Because along with everything, there's a shamash, right? There's a shamash. The question is, what's the inyan of having a shamash? So, on a very practical level, the reason for the shamash is obviously to light the other candles. And in halacha, there's also significance to it. We know that the Gemara tells us that one of the halachas of Chanukah is that you're not allowed to use the candles for your own benefit. So, let's say in those days where they didn't have electric lights, so it's a little bit hard to avoid using the candles of the menorah for your own benefit, so you put a shamash on, and you could say that I'm using the shamash and not using the other candles. But the truth is, in Kabbalah we find that there's a much deeper significance to the shamash. Much deeper significance. I'll give you an example. I'm sure many of you have heard of this idea. Maybe we don't necessarily know too much about it, but you've heard of the Lamed about Tzadikim? Such an idea that every generation has 36 hidden Tzadikim. It's from the Zohar. The Zohar in fact says that there are 36 hidden Tzadikim in Eretz Yisrael, and there's 36 hidden Tzadikim in Chutz La'aretz. It's brought down this farm. Again, I'll try to explain a little bit what this means, but it's brought down this farm that the 36 candles that you light over Chanukah corresponds to the 36 hidden tzaddikim of every generation. And the shamash, that's sort of the boss that lights these other candles, corresponds to the tzaddik of the generation. The tzaddik of the generation. Right, so what does all that mean? What does it mean for us? So in the parsha that we're going through right now, the story of Yosef, and the brothers and so on, if you just sort of step back and, with a bird's eye view of the story, you basically have a conflict between Yosef and Yehuda. That's pretty much what it boils down to, right? Yosef on the one side, Yehuda on the other. They don't see eye to eye. They never saw eye to eye. And through these parshas, we see the conflict more and more, how different worlds they're coming from. And ultimately, Yehuda and Yosef come together. Parshas V'yigash, they come together, they make amends. And what's the catalyst to bring Yosef and Yehuda together? So the catalyst to bring them together is Binyamin. Right? Binyamin, he's the pawn that's used to bring them together, right? Yosef sees his brother, says, pretending to be not Jewish, he says, you have another brother at home, bring him, and so on. And ultimately, Yehuda steps up to the plate in taking responsibility for Binyamin. That's the catalyst that brings them together. So we know that everything in Chumash is not only telling us events that once upon a time happened. It's a general principle that every line of Torah, every word of Torah is telling us something right now how to be better today. And so what do we learn? What's this concept of Yosef and Yehuda on these two opposite sides of life? And Binyamin is what brings them together. So it says in the Zohar like this. It says in the Zohar that Yosef, a nickname for Yosef is what? Yosef Tzaddik, right? Yosef is Tzaddik. Yosef corresponds, the Zohar Kodesh calls Yosef Tzaddik Elyon, the exalted Tzaddik. Yosef means that type of Jew who doesn't have the Yetzaharas of regular people. The Tzaddik who's an exalted Tzaddik. That's one side. Who's Yehuda? The Zohar Kodesh describes Yehuda represents the Jew who has yet to become a Baal Tshuva. Right? Yehuda represents those Jews that not only have Yetzaharas and not only have baggage, but they're struggling with that baggage. They're going through stuff right now. And the problem, the conflict between Yosef and Yehuda is that the tzaddik and the potential Baal Tshuva, the person that needs to be picked up a little bit, there's no communication at all. They don't speak the same language. The tzaddik has no idea about what it means to struggle. Right? The Baal Tshuva, the potential Baal Tshuva, right? The person that's needs strengthening, sees the tzaddik as someone that's completely unrelatable, and they don't see eye to eye. I mentioned this. I've given this example once. Even in yeshivas, it's an unfortunate. It's a reality that very often who's going to become a rebbe in yeshiva? A person's going to become a rebbe in yeshiva is someone who's a good student. Right? That's usually the way it goes. If you're a bad student, it's not likely that you're going to become a teacher, right? So, which means that most rebbeim in yeshiva don't know what it means not to understand the Gemara. They don't know what it means not to pay attention in class. You know what I'm saying? So, and that creates a big disconnect very often between a rebbe and the kid who is struggling in class, because the rebbe doesn't understand what the kid's going through, and the kid looks at the Rebbe is completely unrelatable. And so Yosef is on one side, and Yehuda's on the other, and they're not speaking to each other. So who bridges that gap? The person that bridges that gap is Binyamin. Who is Binyamin? So the Zohar says like this. The Zohar says Yosef is the exalted tzaddik, tzaddik elyon. The Zohar says that Binyamin is tzaddik tachta, the lower tzaddik. What does that mean? It means that the tzaddik, the big tzaddik Yosef, has to partner himself with, he has to make a shliach. Who is that? That's Binyamin. Binyamin is the person who is also pure and holy and does all the right things like the tzaddik. But he's someone who at least understands what it means to have a Yitzhak. He understands what it means to have a Yitzhak. And ultimately, it's Binyamin who is able to bridge that gap between the worlds of Yosef and Yehuda. For example, Binyamin himself, his name, it's interesting, when he was born, so unfortunately Rachel Imeinu, his mother, died during childbirth. And the pasuk says that she named him Ben Oni, the son of my pain, my affliction. But the father, Yaakov Avinu, called him Ben Yamin, the son of my strength. So it's a funny thing. Ben Yamin has sort of these two names. He represents weakness, suffering, and pain, and at the same time, his name means strength and being, standing upright. So which one is it? This lower tzaddik has both these aspects. On the one hand, he's a tzaddik. He does the right thing. But on the other hand, he gets it. He knows what it means not to be tzaddik. The model, sort of, in modern times, I guess you can say, just to bring the point across, the model of this type of system, of there being a tzaddik elyon and an exalted tzaddik, that really is not relatable in truth to the Yehudas of the world. But that exalted tzaddik finds Binyamins to bridge that gap. Probably the greatest modern example of that as an approach in general is Chabad, right? The whole concept of shluchim. What's the concept? The concept is that the Rebbe, when the Rebbe was alive, so he's in 770. He doesn't go to, he's not going to Arizona. He's not going, he's not going to the streets putting tefillin on people. He's in his place. He's the exalted tzaddik. But he finds a lot of Binyamins. And all the Binyamins of the world are people that are also holy, good religious Jews, but they understand what it means to be, they understand what it means not to be a tzaddik. They get it. And they see they themselves are connected to the exalted tzaddik. And by being connected to the big tzaddik, the Yosef tzaddik, but at the same time being relatable to the masses, they bridge that gap. They bridge that gap. And they connect. They could use then the exalted tzaddik, they could use Yosef to inspire those Yehudas of the world. And that's the model that's being presented in the parsha over here, where you have Yosef on one side and Yehuda on the other, and there's communication between them through Binyamin. This is what's going on with Chanukah as well. One of the sort of behind the scenes of Chanukah, we know the story of Chanukah, as we know, is simply the Chashmonaim against the Greeks, right? That we know. But really behind the scenes, and sort of a hidden theme of Chanukah is the fact that at that time, again, we might not know all the numbers 100%, but we know that at the time there was a tremendous influence of Greek culture in the Jewish people. There was a lot of Jews that were simply not religious. People were falling by the wayside. There was a lot of Yehudas out there. And at the other hand, you had like the Kohen Gadol, you had the Chashmonaim. And the miracle of Chanukah is not only the Chashmonaim, who are the Tzadikim of the generation, not only are they able to overthrow the Greeks and get them out of the Beis HaMikdash physically, but Chanukah also meant a time where the Tzadikim of the generation were able to influence the masses of Jews to bring them back into the fold as well, where Yehuda and Binyamin, Yosef and Yehuda, were able to communicate. And the Tzadikim of the world are able to influence and inspire those that are disconnected from them. But the way that happens is by Binyamin. It's by that in-between tzaddik, by the tzaddik who is holy, but gets it, but knows what it means not to be. And that's why the Yom Tov of Chanukah came to us specifically by their Kohen Gadol and regular Chanukah. But why does Hashem make it in such a way where Chanukah comes to us by Matisyo Kohen Gadol, Ubanav, and his children? What's the significance of that? The answer is the Kohen Gadol means the Yosef. And ultimately, all the Yehudas of the world for them to become the people they have to become, it's by being inspired by seeing the Yosefs of the world. But there has to be some bridge in between. The bridge in between are the children of the Kohen Gadol, the regular Kahanim. The regular Kahanim are also Tzadikim, but they're not. But they get it. They know what it means. They know what it means not to be Tzadik. It's that bridge that connects them to. This is the concept of the Shamish, as I mentioned in the beginning. The Shamish with the 36 candles of Chanukah. The Shamish, there's eight candles for the Shamish, right? 8 nights of Chanukah. That corresponds to the Kohen Gadol who wore 8 clothing. The Shamish represents the Tzadik Elyon, the Yosef HaTzadik, the Kohen Gadol, the exalted Tzadik, the one that's so holy and so above and beyond matters of this world that he doesn't even know what it means not to be Tzadik. He's completely beyond. But then you have the 36 candles corresponding to the 36 hidden Tzadikim of the generation. What does it mean hidden Tzadikim? So there's a lot of like Karbach stories, right? Like Schwarzer Wolf, I don't know. Like, what does it mean hidden Tzadik? You know what it means hidden Tzadik? A hidden Tzadik means someone who's a Tzadik but gets it. Someone who's involved in the world, someone who knows what it means not to be a tzaddik, who's relatable. A tzaddik who's relatable is not Yosef. He's not as holy as Yosef, but he's somewhat holy and he's relatable. He bridges the gap. That's the 36 candles of Hanukkah. And when we light the candles of Hanukkah, we have to daven to Hashem. It's important to daven like this. So we have to daven to Hashem that we should be able to be introduced to those binyamins, that we should be able to find binyamins like that, to find people that are holy but are also relatable, and to give us a common language with the big tzaddikim of the generation. And this is something that, again, without getting into too much detail, but I've had conversations with many people, not from here, but other places where people are bothered with, let's say a person meets a big tzaddik, and the tzaddik is like just not, doesn't understand what you're talking about. Like it's coming from a different place. And somewhat unrelatable. And the question is like, well, what's the purpose of such a, like, what does he do for me? Well, the answer is ultimately those are the people that inspire us. Those are the people that connect us to the higher world. But it is true that you need to find the binyan. A person has to find a tzaddik who's relatable, who bridges that gap, who creates a language and communication between Yosef and you. That's binyan. Those are the 36 candles of Chanukah. So Hashem should help. With each and every one of us, we should be able to find connection to the Yosefs of our generation through finding connections with binyan, and finding those tzaddikim that are relatable and teach us in practical terms how to become better people. And ultimately it's through them that Yosef and Yehuda are merged, and everyone becomes who they can become. And that's Hashem, that will happen. The V'yiskel Tzaddik, Meher V'meinu Amen.
Thank you, Hashem. Thank